Hello, welcome to this month's edition of Hope and Help for Families. My name is Pastor Matthew J. Watts. I'm your host, and we're excited about the program that will be aired this entire month. And we're talking about the West Virginia Achievement Project. And my guest for this particular segment is Ms. Christy Day. Christy, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much for having me.
Now, there's been a lot of discussion about No Child Left Behind. There's been a lot of talk about achievement. There's been discussion regarding what's called disproportionality, the representation of some groups, particularly minority groups in special education. So I've heard a lot of talk for the last 5 or 6 years, and I'm eager to see more action. So tell me about this West Virginia Achievement Project. What exactly is it?
Well, the West Virginia Achievement Project was basically born out of a community initiative in Kanawha County, a group called the MAC. And the MAC stands for Maximizing the Achievement of African American Children in Kanawha. They got together back in 2004 and lobbied the legislature to really give some direct attention to the low achievement of African American and low income students in West Virginia, and Kanawha County particularly. Well, the legislature basically gave this statewide perspective and said this is something that we need to really look at across the state, and they designated 10 counties throughout the state which would house professional development schools. And so the West Virginia Department of Education received money to get these professional development schools established in 10 counties, and they work to bring a higher level of professional development, student enrichment to these schools. However, the community part of this is also very important, and so the West Virginia Department of Education and the Arts received money from the Benedum Foundation to really get this community component going up and running throughout the state, which allows the community to get involved with the schools and with parents to advocate on behalf of their children. Let's
back up for a second, because for years there's been discussion about this achievement gap. And I remember maybe as long ago as 10 years ago, when West Virginia was first cited by the Office of Civil Rights for the overrepresentation of minority youth in special education. And then around about 2001, I think the MAC started to work with Kanawha County Schools about the disaggregation of the data to see how students were performing, the different groups, minority groups, African Americans versus the rest of the population, low income students. But what some people sort of fail to realize is that there is a problem among low income students. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
I mean, and explain exactly this gap that exists between low income students and their upper income or middle income counterparts.
Right. Well, tests show that when it comes to standardized tests on a statewide or national basis, that there is a disparity between the achievement of low-income students and non-low-income students. So what that means is that they're not achieving at the same levels. There's a gap there. And when you talk about working to get to the root of what's there, there are a lot of reasons, of course, and we don't necessarily have time to go into it, where the research is pointing us. However, it is there, and what happens when there is an achievement gap, students aren't learning, aren't producing in the classrooms, then a lot of times you'll see higher dropout rates. Those dropout rates can lead to other problems such as incarceration, teen pregnancy. It just spirals a lot of times out of control in the lives of these children. So in essence, what we're doing is we're losing generations of children you know, who could possibly be productive members of our community because of their lack of achievement in the classroom.
Now, when the MAC committee in Kanawha County started out, initially they were looking at the African American student achievement, and they note that there was a significant gap there. Then they expanded their glance to the low income student achievement as well, and that has sort of carried forward into the statewide initiatives. And so the House Bill 4669, as you pointed out, it expanded what the MAC group thought would be a 1-county project, and now it's a 10-county project, correct?
That's correct.
Now, how many schools are currently included in the West Virginia Achievement Project that you're coordinating statewide?
There are 3 schools per county, so we're talking about 30 schools statewide, and these schools are in the counties that have the largest minority population, and they have substantial low-income population also.
Okay. Now, you spoke earlier about the fact that the State Board of Education, Dr. Steve Payne's office now, that they're sort of the custodians of the House Bill 4669 and the implementation of the Professional Development Schools Initiative. Is that correct?
That's correct. They work with what is called a CAG. Each county has a CAG, which is a Closing the Achievement Gap Specialist.
Okay.
And so these folks work particularly with each of those 3 schools in their county.
Okay.
And they have a host of activities that they're involved in, and they work a lot with research, with various modules that help to bring various kinds of teaching resources to the schools. So it's an enrichment, and I can't speak for the Department of Education, but they are working in those schools particularly, and with the staff in those schools.
Okay, so the State Board of Education Superintendent's Office, they have funding from the legislature, and I think they're also getting some funding from the local, I guess the county school level to fund their initiative. Now, you spoke of a grant from the Benham Foundation, and that's actually funding the initiative that you're working on, the West Virginia Achievement Project, correct?
That's correct. The grant that we work from was provided by the Benham Foundation, and we received that grant earlier this year. So this initiative is initially a 12-month project aimed at getting the communities involved and getting the communities up and running with advocating and building capacity so they can advocate on behalf of children in those areas. So although we are 2 initiatives, we are trying to really build capacity together and work together with the State Department in order to really address this problem aggressively.
Now, in what department of state government is the West Virginia Achievement Project housed?
It's housed with the under Secretary Kay Goodwin, which is the West Virginia Department of Education and the Arts. And so I work with that, and I also work with the West Virginia Center for Professional Development. So my time is kind of spent between the 2.
Okay. Now let's talk a little bit, let's kind of move it down just a bit. We talk about at the statewide level, you're trying to coordinate a statewide initiative in 10 counties, which is a pretty large area to cover.
That's correct.
With as many as 30 schools. Let's talk specifically now about some of the specific goals that you as a coordinator have and that Secretary Goodwin has for this project.
Well, the goals are basically, as I said before, to build capacity. What that means is to really light a match in these communities, to let them know that there is an issue, there is a concern with student achievement, and identify those schools, and to really help them to understand what the problem is, what it looks like. A lot of times, you pull all this information, all this data together, and you've got these numbers and your head is spinning. But at the end of the day, you really have to break down that information so that it can be disseminated, digested, understood, so that when we say that there's an achievement gap, that this many students in this school are performing below mastery or at a novice level, what does that mean? So that's one goal, is to help them to understand the data.
So really, it's an educational campaign.
It certainly is.
Sometimes the educational jargon is as confused as medical jargon or theological jargon, but try to break it down to layman's term. This is what this means. This is what you as a parent need to know so that you can act accordingly. Right. Okay.
And then to help identify resources. Now, a lot of times these achievement project committees in these various counties, they may be small. So they are right now even working to build their membership, and I know I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but they're working to build membership so that they can, again, work effectively in those communities also. But one thing that we want to make sure that we do is identify resources. So, for example, an 8th grade student brings home some paperwork, and it says, I have to take this back because I have to get on a career pathway, whether it's going to be professional, going to college, or various post-secondary options. What is it? And a mother may see this, or a father may see this, and they don't know.
It's like Greek to me.
Exactly. What exactly does this mean? Well, ideally, they could contact someone with the Achievement Project in their community, and we would identify resources for them, someone who could sit down with them and help walk them through this process. And sometimes it's just a matter of being a liaison between the community and the school. Because a lot of times parents, for various reasons, may not feel comfortable, they may not have a relationship with the teachers, with the principals, with the educators that are dealing with their children each and every day. And so we help to build that relationship because we want to do what's best for the child. That's the bottom line.
Sure. Now, one of the things that we found in working with parents, that very often the parent themselves had a bad experience in school. One of the worst nightmares occurred in the school system. Maybe they weren't a good student, or they had disciplinary problems or whatever. And so it's just a bad experience, and they don't want to return back to that. And so they've got to overcome that fear, and sometimes the coach or mentor or liaison can help accomplish that. Now, have you been able to get to all the 10 counties?
We are working, we've made contact with all the 10 counties, and these committees are up and running in many of them.
Excellent.
There are a couple of counties that we are in more preliminary stages, but we've made contact at least. And what we do is we divide the counties into regions, 2 counties each. So, for example, you have McDowell County and Mercer County in the southern part of the state, which are paired together. Raleigh and Fayette in southern West Virginia.
That's my neck of the woods.
Your neck of the woods, right? Mount Hope.
That's right.
And Cabell and Kanawha County are paired together. Marion and Ohio counties are paired together, in Jefferson and Berkeley.
So you're in it with 5 regions.
That's right.
A little bit more manageable for yourself.
Exactly.
And they also, I guess, can work together, and they can benefit from best practices and what they're learning.
And we have regional coordinators, basically, that are in those communities.
Okay, explain that. Now, these regional coordinators, they're part of an extension of your office?
That's correct.
Okay.
Right. They work directly with me, and they are located in those counties. It's very hard to make inroads in a community if you don't understand that community, if you don't live in that community and see the people and know who the people are. So it can be very difficult, and that's why we knew it would be very important to work directly with people who are from there, live there, take their kids to the same Little League football and baseball leagues, and we understood that that would be a very important part of this process.
Okay. If you just tuned in, you're tuned into Hope and Help for Families. My name is Matthew J. Watts. I'm your host. My guest this month is Miss Christy Day. She's with the West Virginia Achievement Project, and we're talking about that initiative, which covers 10 counties around the state of West Virginia, with 3 schools in each county for a total of 30 schools. And the goal is to improve the academic performance of the students in those counties, with a particular emphasis given to low-income youth and to minority youth. Now, Chris, let's kind of turn the curve now and come down to the community. What did you see when you got to the first county? I mean, what was it like, and what was your initial strategy to try to start pull things together?
Well, fortunately, I have always known the MAC and volunteered with the MAC and volunteered with various initiatives that they were involved in. And the beauty of all of that is that you have somewhat of a roadmap.
Sure.
The MAC has done phenomenal things in Kanawha County and made significant inroads. And so because of that, I understood that, this has to be a grassroots effort. And so really a lot of what I do is I help to get communities to realize the potential that's already there. A lot of people who work with our Achievement Project, they're retired educators. So they already know the system, they already know the issues, the challenges, they already know the people. So for example, in one of our counties, a retired principal is one of our regional coordinators. And he had the parents of some of these kids now as students himself. And so he knows
some history there.
He's got a lot of history. He calls them out by name. But the beauty of that is that he has always wanted to do something. And that's what you find, is that you go to these counties, they know there's a problem, particularly retired educators. They just need a channel. They need a way to channel that energy and to channel that good intention and to really see some results of their work. And so I get down there and we help them. We provide secretarial, administrative support to get mailings out about communities. We sit there and we ask them what are the problems, and we brainstorm and we sit there and we make lists of things that are problems. Okay, now what may be some of the solutions? And we understand that this may be a slow process because it didn't happen overnight and it's not going to get solved overnight. However, we really put down some goals for the various communities. And one thing that the MAC has done, which has been duplicated in other parts of the state, is that we ask the churches to let us use their drivers and their vans to get parents out to open houses, because as we said before, a lot of times there's just not a relationship. It might be an intimidation factor. Parents aren't comfortable working with the teachers or the principals. So we got the vans and the churches to volunteer their vans and drivers, got the parents out to the open houses for those who didn't have transportation, and we helped them by sitting there at the table with them to again, serve as a liaison. So that's one thing that they're working on and have done to a smaller degree down in Raleigh County, for example. They've done some of that, and they're looking to do even more of those things. So I'm more of a facilitator. It's a grassroots effort. The community has the commitment, and they're committed to really bringing some results to the table.
Now, what has been the greatest challenges that you've confronted and had to deal with in trying to overcome the inertia or create some traction to get the project moving?
Well, there have been a couple of things. I think it's just coordinating so many, such a large area, getting the coordinators on board, and there's a lot of front-end work that has to go with that. We've collected a lot of data and analyzed it and provided that, and there's training that goes along with this too, where we help the coordinators to understand the data and what some of the challenges are. And then getting the word out in the community and finding those channels that you can tap into. Sometimes it's the network of churches, many times it is, but then there are also other networks there too. See, we don't talk to each other. Our community centers don't talk to the other community centers and those kinds of things. So a lot of times you have to start from scratch to build up those lists of contacts, and the fraternities and the sororities also are very important. As you know, it's part of their established goals to provide this kind of community service. So we take them up on that and ask them to get involved. However, a lot of times you go into a county, you have to find out who those people are. You're starting from scratch, as I said before. So that's been somewhat of the challenge. And then we need to really make sure, and I think Kanawha County can be a testament to this, is that sometimes these kinds of initiatives are looked at with a jaundiced eye. They think that you're trying to start trouble, or we're trying to pick fights, so to speak, and that's really not the case. And those who understand the Achievement Project and realize that we are trying to give them help, bring the community to the table to be an ally.
And so what I hear you saying is that we really are there to try to help.
Yes.
That the data speaks for itself. And this impartial data that's been collected by the testers who come in and administer these tests, they've come back and saying there is an achievement gap. There is a significant gap between low-income youth, minority youth, and their upper middle class and upper class counterparts. That's a fact. So if I hear you correctly, the Western Achievement Project is saying, look, we're going to try to see if we can mobilize the community to identify the resources that they have in their community, to bring them together so they can work in partnership with their local schools to achieve their improve the active achievement of the students.
That's right. And also, one thing that we all know is that when a student walks through the door of the school, they don't just drop who they are and go and become the new person or a new student. They bring their total being to the classroom. Whatever they're struggling with at home, and a lot of these young people have tremendous challenges. Low-income and African-American minority children, they have a lot of tremendous challenges that they're facing, and they bring this to the classroom. So not only is it Mama's problem and Bobby's problem, now it's the teacher's problem, and it's the school's problem. So we are really trying to really interjecting this thing on a lot of different levels, you know, from the community level with the parents, to the school level with the teachers and the principals, to the central office level with superintendents and central staff.
All right, talk to me. I'm a parent. My child's in the public school. My child's doing pretty good in school. I mean, they're making better than passing grades. I don't need to be a part of the West Virginia Treatment Project. I live in Kanawha County, or Raleigh County, or Mercer, or Marion County. I mean, why should I be concerned about it?
Well, because we don't work in a vacuum. We're a part of a community. And regardless of how well your student or your child is doing, there are still a lot of resources out there. One thing, for example, and this was a conversation that we had with a parent. She's a single mom, but her children do very well, A students, and when it came time to make that college leap, to start applying for colleges, she says, I'm just not getting the information about scholarships. I don't know what kind of scholarships are out there. National Merit Scholarships, there's all kinds of options that they didn't know about. And so the MAC has folks that are involved on a community level who are involved in the educational process. They know education and opportunities on a national level, and they could have, had she been tapped into the MAC at that time, they could have pointed her in the right direction to get some additional scholarship information for her child. Now, you know, and most of us, our children are not struggling, and they're not having those kind of challenges. However, as a collective, that's one thing that we need to really understand. We're stronger as a whole than as an individual. And so working to make things better for your child, you're going to make things better for all children. And that's the one message that we really try to get across.
All right, talk to me. I'm a business person, you know, and I have a business in Raleigh County. I'm interested because, you know, I need employees, and I want employees who are well skilled and who can come in and make a contribution. What role is there for me as a business person?
There is a role for everyone, but we really encourage the business community to look at what we're doing, because this is tomorrow's workforce that we're talking about right now. I mean, if we have a large group of people, of students, who are not producing well in the classroom, they're not going to produce well for you on the workforce. And that's the bottom line. So what expertise do you have that you could bring to the table? What resources do you have that you could bring to the table? There are a lot of tutoring and mentoring initiatives that we help to network people with. There's shadowing programs that these children would love and need to be a part of. Sometimes, you know, it's as simple as they don't see the routine of getting up at 6 a.m., cooking breakfast, getting ready, getting to work on time, being productive on the job, you know, results-oriented work. Sometimes they don't even have access to these kinds of things. So if you're a part of their lives and can bring this to them and to really mold and shape them into the kind of worker they're going to be one of these days, it's going to benefit the community as a whole.
Now, could a business person, say in Fayette County, for example, be a part, you know, of the community initiative? They just want to be a part so that they can have their hand in the mix and make suggestions and ideas, that type of thing. Could they unite and be a part of the community effort?
Oh, certainly. And we've had that somewhat in Kanawha County also, but there certainly is a place at the table for everyone. We do have some retired educators. We have parents of young children. We have folks empty nesters also, who are involved in this. So there is room for everyone at the table.
Okay. If you just tuned in, you're viewing Hope and Helpful Families. My name is Matthew J. Watson. I'm your host, and my guest for this month is Miss Christy Day. She's the coordinator for the West Virginia Achievement Project, and we're talking about that initiative and its goal to improve the academic achievement of students, particularly students from low-income families and minority families. Christy, let's kind of fast forward. Let's say we're a year from today. Where would you like to see the project within a year?
I would like to see parents, well, let me back up. First, I would like to see our communities celebrating academic achievement the same way that they celebrate athletic prowess. I think that that's one thing that we've gotten away from, making sure that when students make the honor roll or have significant improvement in their grades, that we celebrate that publicly. The way that we clap on Friday nights, during Friday night football. So that's one thing that I'd really like to see communities doing. Secondly, I would like to see parents getting more involved in the education of their children. We have to remember that the education of a child is the responsibility of the parent. Now, we have a public education system.
I would agree.
And it's a wonderful public education system. However, we cannot just turn our children over and expect for someone else to do the job that we need to be doing. And so that's another thing that I'd really like to see happening. And that would look a lot of different ways. I want to see our parents going to parent-teacher conferences. I want us to see us having a relationship. An example that I use is, regardless of whether or not my children are doing well in school, the teachers know me. They know me on a first-name basis, and they know how to get in touch with me. And most importantly, my kids know that their teachers know how to get in touch with me. So that's another thing. And I'd like for us to really know that this is a joint effort. That even though the problem is here, a lot of times we get around the table and we start pointing fingers. Well, it's your fault or it's your fault. I want us to get beyond that.
Get on the same side of the problem. I agree. This is the problem we're going to work on together,
and we're going to work together
to solve it.
That I would like to see us there, and the rest will come. I think once we work as a unified front to address these issues and these challenges, you're going to see that achievement increase for these students.
Excellent, excellent. Well, let's talk a little bit about to the teacher. I'm a teacher, and I teach in a school that has a high minority and a low socioeconomic clientele. Give me some insight. What can I do, and how can I be a part of supporting this initiative in my community, because we are a professional development school?
Right. First, I would say just open the door to communication and collaboration, and that usually that happens, on the level of the principal. We went down to one of the schools in Beckley Middle School down there, and the principal was overwhelmed, just so grateful to see these men coming to the table and being involved and saying.
Who are some of those fellows?
Russell Mans and Thomas Parham.
Mr. Parham, yeah.
Yes, they are soldiers on the educational battlefield.
No doubt about that.
And they are so committed to this. But they've made a significant commitment, and they have tapped into their group of their social circles, their professional circles, and they've made a commitment that they are going to bring people to the table. And that's where the school gets involved, and it says, well, we need this. We need to see men here walking the halls and being involved, mentoring, and we need to also make sure that you can help us make inroads into the households also, if that doesn't already exist.
That's tremendous. Now, someone may be viewing this program, and they're in one of these 10 counties, which I think he had put up on the screen there. They're just interested. Could they contact your office to get more information?
Yes.
Could you give them that number?
Yes, that number is 304-558-0539. They just need to ask for me, and they will put them in touch with the staff that works with this initiative. What
if someone, just quickly here, we just got a few seconds left, but someone lives in a different county from one of the professional development school counties, but they're still interested because they have maybe family living in that county. Could they also get involved?
Yes, because what we do works anywhere. We're talking about initiatives and efforts and programs and projects that have mass appeal. So if the issue exists, if the challenge exists in another county, these things can certainly help.
Well, Ms. Christian, thanks for coming.
Thank you.
And I'm sure if enthusiasm is a key to this thing being successful, you have a lot of that.
Well, thank you.
And we appreciate that. We wish you much success. We'll have you back in a couple of months to give us an update.
Great.
We want to thank you for tuning in to Hope and Help for Families this month. We hope that the program was informational and educational for you. Please contact the West Virginia Achievement Project if you have more interest and find out more about how you can participate in improving the academic achievement of our children. We'll see you next time.